Hello, you guys, and welcome once again to Real News Talk. This is Real News Talk, and I am your Real News host coming to you once again with more commentary. And this time it's about Texas inmate Amber Guyger. This came out today. Amber Guyger was a Texas female of Dallas, Texas, ex-cop who murdered Botham John in his apartment allegedly by a mistake, and she was convicted of murder and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Well, today it came out that she's in the Texas female death row prison, which is a high-profile prison where all of the high-profile inmates, including the woman that gunned down Selena Perez, I think that was in San Antonio, I'm not sure. I forgot because it was some years ago. And Selena was the Grammy Award winning singer. She was the queen of Tejano music, however you pronounce it. And she was a Grammy winning singer. She was gunned down by a woman there at the same prison with Amber Guyger. The Texas Department released a new mugshot of Amber Guyger today online, and they did it on Monday. I just saw it today, and it was taken at the Mountain View unit in a maximum security women's prison in Gatesville, Texas, which was 130 miles away from southwest of Dallas. That's what the correctional officials said, and they said that Amber Guyger would be there for some time. As I said in my previous videos, that Amber Guyger got a short sentence, but in her mind, it's really long. Sometimes everybody was upset about it, but the time being in a prison like that, everyone was upset. But look, the time that she got, as I said earlier, that 5 years may be 100 to her. Because sometimes when people commit a crime, even if they think they are sliding out of it, really you can't go around, especially when you murder someone. Whether it was an accident, and her being a police officer, that was why everybody was upset, because of the fact that she should have noticed certain things around her because of how they're trained. So actually, and also people upset because of how the judge handled the situation with her. And this prison, Gatesville, and I remember my mother long ago when I was a young girl saying, you better not get in trouble, because if you go to Gatesville prison, it's nothing nice. And I was like, Mother, why you say that? She said, Gatesville prison, that is a harsh prison for women. She says, those women in there, they're lesbians, they are killers, murderers, they will fight you, it's pretty rough. But from the mugshot, Amber Guyger, she pretty much, the mugshot that I saw, Amber Guyger is pretty tough. That mugshot is online too, you can pull it up. She's pretty doggone tough, and it seems like even on that mugshot, she will be able to handle any situation, and especially being trained as a police officer. She knows some moves that probably they're not trained to know. So I think she can handle her own in that prison system. And they were saying that they can't say more than that, other than where she is. It's on 99 acres, and it's 650 women, and they're all on death row. Well, they say it's a death row prison, so I'm not sure if all of them are on death row, because she's not on death row, but they don't know how long she'll be there, but she will be there for some time. So they can't say anything else about the situation because of the fact that there are state privacy laws to protect what's going on inside of their system. What I was going to say again about Amber Guyger, a lot of people was upset because of the judge giving her the hug, and the judge actually was comfortable. She had on her little flip-flops, and when Amber Guyger was giving her hug, if you pull the mugshot, she was kind of standing back from the judge. She didn't come around and give her that wholeheartedly hug, even though she asked for it. You see what I'm saying? But she didn't come from around where she was to, because her body was way like this way, and the judge was that way. And the judge had on her flip-flops, and the judge gave her interview on why she felt that what she did was right. Well, it doesn't matter if a judge is wrong or right. A judge is not going to go back on their word of what they did, even if they later sit back and say, well, I shouldn't have done it. They're not going to come back and tell you that I made a mistake, regardless. But the judge was saying she was wondering why everybody online was, upset about it. And she said her reasons for actually taking the Bible and even giving Amber Guyger the hug was because of the fact that Amber Guyger was sitting really, really stiff in court. And when she got that 10-year sentence, she started to shiver. Well, most people say, well, anybody would do that. So tell me something else. Because anybody in court is going to sit still waiting for their sentence. And then after you give it to them, and especially a police officer like Amber Guyger, she wasn't ready for that. So she would shiver. So many people say, well, that a reason to give her Bible? What about all the other criminals? Because it's just like giving a kid candy and the next kid stands there and see it, or the next kid walk in the room, they want candy too. So, and it doesn't matter about race, it doesn't matter about color, white, black, blue, green, Chinese. If another person came in there and they got 10 years, then they possibly would want the same treatment. Or what about if it was even a Caucasian man? And he could even be a police officer. He would want that treatment too. I mean, what it is that everybody wants love, and especially if they're getting sentenced for whatever the crime may be. Oftentimes people do less crimes, and of course, they're going to feel like, well, I did less than her, and I sit straight in court too until my sentence came, and then I did the same thing that the judge said she did. So everybody's like, well, tell me something different than that, because that still, to them, wasn't a reason if they're not getting it too, or all of the other criminals, which have done less things, are getting it. And I think that was why everyone was upset. It wasn't so much as about a race or color or anything like that. It was about actually the justice system being on the same page with criminals that comes through the court. Even though she said at her time she wasn't doing it, the trial was over, but still, yet instead it was still in her courtroom, and the other criminals didn't get it, on camera. Even if she did it off camera, then no one could really come out and say anything because they wouldn't know anything. You see what I'm saying? But when you are put in the spotlight and you show a difference because someone was one way and they changed and it was another way, but they was convicted as a murderer, the people that's less than a murderer want a Bible and a hug too from the judge. So that's where it was. And then also the jurors are saying we couldn't do it and give her sentence. It just seems like, in the bailiff stroking her hair, it just seems like they got a different treatment than anybody, doesn't matter what color. And also the judge said, well, if it was a black person, then I wouldn't get bashed. Yes, you would, because the other race may bash her, because they may say it's not about race either. It's about justice, of showing everyone the same love and attention, because everyone's going to shiver and shimmer and shake when it's time for them to go to prison. And oftentimes many of them will yell out, oh, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. You see it all the time. You Google it up, you hear them screaming, hollering. But they don't get the Bible and the hug. So basically, I think that's what people are saying. So, and another thing about his brother and his family should not be suing the Dallas Police Department. Leave it alone. And the reason I'm saying that, because when the brother said, Amber Guyger, I love you. I do not want you to go to prison. I love you. I forgive you. Well, the mother didn't say, why did you do that? The mother didn't tell the public, I didn't appreciate my son doing that. She agreed with his decision to do it, but now here they all are suing the Dallas Police Department, so it doesn't add up. If you feel that you have forgiven her, if you feel that justice wasn't served for her, you feel like you didn't want her to go to prison, you feel like you have forgiven her, well, you have to forgive the police department as well, because she was a part of the police department. She actually killed Botham Jean, not the police department. So you see what I'm saying? So it's still leading to something that's not balancing out, because they need to go ahead and go back to St. Lucia, leave the Dallas Police Department alone because the case is now over and you didn't want her to go to prison. So if you didn't want her to go to prison, why would you put money over the love of your son? If you didn't want her to go to prison to pay for killing your son, then why would you want the money from the Dallas Police Department? It just doesn't add up. Leave the money in the Dallas Police Department and let them go ahead and do their training. And if you have forgiven her, then you have forgiven them. And you just want training, more training for them and everything. So let the money stay there. Leave it alone. And the reason I'm saying that, because it doesn't add up to say, I forgive you, I don't want you to go to prison, her son. Now, if the mother would have come forth and say, I don't know why my son said that, because I don't forgive her because she actually killed my son, my flesh and blood. We have God, I have God, but I just didn't want my son dead, and he wouldn't have wanted to die either. You know, and it's just like one of the judges said, the reason we didn't sentence her more than 10 because Botham Jean would have wanted what we did. Well, they don't know what Botham Jean would have wanted. One thing Botham Jean would have wanted is to be living just like them. And if it was their brother, their sister, their child, then they would want justice also. So it's not about a race, it's only about justice and treating everyone the same. Whether it was a white man sitting in that courtroom, a black man that did less things, maybe they probably would have had drugs on them. And when they got their 10-year sentence or whatever, they would have been shimmering just like the judge said she did, but they don't get no Bible. They don't get no hug. They don't get, you didn't do what you thought you had, you didn't do as much as you thought you had did. You can be forgiven. They didn't get all of that. So that's what everybody is saying. But anyway, that back to that family, I think they should leave the Dallas Police Department alone because of the fact that they have forgiven her and forgiven the whole thing pretty much. So now that the trial is over, Amber Guyger's doing her sentence, and you guys said it was, you didn't want her to go, leave the police department alone. Another thing I wanted to say is that, and this is real news talk, so please click like, share, and subscribe. This is my personal point of view. Everybody's entitled to their own. You can speak your own public opinion and can't nobody take it away from you. Freedom of speech is what it's all about from your personal point of view as well as mine. And so I accept other people's point of view because everybody has a different point of view. Just like the judge had her point of view when she thought it was right, when she did that and when she said what she said and everything, when she gave her Bible to her. You know, many people would say I don't have a Bible, but they have to get a Bible from their loved one or somebody to put money on their books or whatever, you know. But another thing I did want to say is that when Joshua Brown was killed, I knew, and I said in many of my videos, well, actually I know in one of them I said it didn't have anything to do with the Dallas Police Department. It really didn't. And I knew that, and you know why? Because when Joshua was on the stand, the way he was dressed, his demeanor, and when they started saying, well, where do you work now? He was like, I work here, I work there in LA and this and that. Everything was like this, going all kind of ways. And I was like, well, wait a minute, something's not adding up here. And I picked up some energy that wasn't quite right. I have an intuition about things, not that I'm a fortune teller or anything, but I was born with that. And I have that, and 9 times out of 10, every time pretty much, people say, oh yeah, how did you know? I don't know how I knew. A lot of people have those gifts, they just don't use it, and I use mine to the fullest of my ability. And I told my girlfriend, I said, oh no, honey, it wasn't the Dallas Police Department, it was someone taking advantage of the situation of the trial. So all the focus could be on the Dallas Police Department. I said, because remember they said he had been busted for drugs or something like that, and when he said he had all these businesses, and then what got me, the way he came to court in shorts. It was like he didn't want to be there. He was there, and he was jittery. It was just the vibes, the energy wasn't right, and I just felt something. Excuse me. It just wasn't right. Another thing I felt was then when he said that he had just met Botham John that morning, but then he started crying. He didn't even know him that well. And so my girlfriend said, well, yeah, he probably felt like that was so close to home. And I said, yeah, probably, because of what he was involved in. So he was sensing his death. My mother always said people can feel their deaths. They don't know they're feeling it, but because of the situation of him being involved and what he was involved in, his mind probably was on the transaction he had to do. And so they have these three men that allegedly murdered him. And so people are saying, well, that was a setup too. But no, it wasn't a setup because of the fact that he had already been involved in drugs. And if I was Joshua Brown, the now deceased, knowing that all this stuff was around me, I would not have had any involvement in drugs in my apartment, around my apartment, especially after this death at that South Side apartment and all this stuff that was going on around that apartment, to have drugs inside of the apartment. Now, my prayers do go out to Joshua's family, his friends, and everyone. And he was a handsome young man. I'm just so hurt about him, the situation. And so I think they have one of the suspects, and it was even an uncle and a nephew. And so the uncle took the nephew, who was shot, and I guess by Joshua, in the chest, to the hospital. And so somehow they're still looking for the other two suspects that drove down from Alexandria, Louisiana, and killed Joshua Brown. I knew in my heart, mind, and soul that it wasn't the Dallas Police Department that killed Joshua Brown. And it kind of spoke for itself, his demeanor, the way he dressed. Who wears shorts to court? My girlfriend said, girl, that's a new millennium. I said, oh no, baby. He was busy hustling, doing some hustling work. He didn't have time to even do nothing but what he was doing. He just stopped in the courtroom and said his piece, and that was it. He didn't even want to be a part. But when he put his head down and cried, and he said, I need a moment, he didn't really know Botham John to be that sensitive. It was something else. If you look back at his tape, something was riding that young man. He was a little fidgety. And when they said, well, what do you do? And he said, I was a forklift, and then I have an R&B here, I have this, that. Everything was like just too many, too much, and when you're that young, it's like, how can you do all this and have all this stuff in all these different states? Prayers do go out to the family, and I am so devastated that Joshua Brown, that handsome young man, is no longer with us on this earth, because he was a key witness and he made some key points out in the case that helped them convict Amber Guyger. But also I knew that it wasn't the Dallas Police Department, because other people also said what they said. It wasn't just Joshua Brown. So are they just going to go up and killing up everybody? So I knew that it wasn't him. I hope they, solve this matter here and put this behind everybody too, because that was a cold blow. That was really, really sad, and it was from the same. I know how those apartment people feel. Two people right across from each other, right close to each other, both dead from Southside apartments. That puts a bad, bad image on a large business like of that sort. It really does. So my heart goes out to the Joshua Brown family, the Botham John family, the Amber Guyger family, and all of the people involved. But again, Amber Guyger had to pay for her crime, and many thought that it wasn't enough time. But as I said, now she's right here. They're saying she is in Texas female death row prison. Can you imagine those women in there knowing they're on death row? That's the worst. I mean, that's almost like that's like you already dead, pretty much, because you waiting to die, and she's in there with those people. So that 5 years that she's going to do is going to be something else. But I think she can handle it being a police officer, a Dallas police officer. So yeah, I felt that they got wrapped up in her feelings and her composures, her expressions, her crying. They cried for her. The jury said they cried for her when they had a 5 to 29 year sentence that they had to give, and they cried for her. They should have been crying for Botham John. I wouldn't care what color you are. Justice is justice, and that's what I'm saying. It's not about race. It's not about color. I hope anybody don't get mad. I'm just being honest. Like I said, it could have been a white man on the stand that didn't get that, and I will say the same thing I'm saying now. And someone did some kind of racist comment on my page, and all I did was just got rid of it because I'm not racist, and it wasn't about race. And he was like, I don't know why black people always thinking da 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 da. No, black people always, we never had, most of us was not raised with prejudiceness in our hearts. We really wasn't, because a lot of us came from white people. And a lot of us, like me, I have mixed white nieces and nephews, and my family is all very well rounded. So race was not an issue for me in my explanation of how I felt about the situation. Definitely not at all. Justice is justice, and it should be served for men, women, young adults, white, black, Chinese, green, yellow, whatever color it is. It's true. If you murder somebody, you got to pay, and especially if they convicted her of murder. I mean, I didn't convict her of murder. The public didn't convict her of murder. She was convicted of murder in the court of law. And people were upset because of the treatment that everyone gave her, the bailiff rubbing the hair. And, it's just that you don't see other people get that kind of treatment. So, of course, that would raise eyebrows on a lot of people of all nationalities. You have a lot of people that are not black, that kids have went into the prison system that didn't get that. How do you think they feel about it? Well, many online are talking and saying the same thing that the black people are saying. So that comment was definitely not a good one. And it was a racist one, and I deleted it. Because it's not about race, it's about justice. You will want justice for your family. If somebody shot your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, and that's how it is. Justice is justice, and it has no limit to a color. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I wanted to bring to you. Amber Guyger is in the Texas female death row prison, where all the high-profile inmates are, including the woman who gunned down Grammy-winning singer Selena Perez, the queen of the genre music. The Texas Department of Criminal Justice released her new mugshot on Monday, and it was taken at Mountain View Unit, a maximum security women's prison in Gatesville, Texas, 130 miles southwest of Dallas. The correctional officials said she may be there for some time, but they're possibly going to move her, because I can't see, because she only have 10 years, that she would stay there. But like I said, when you're in that system, once you get in, you're in. So you have to pay. So even though everybody thought she wasn't paying because she didn't get enough sentencing, well, one night probably was like a whole year to her. Someone that's never been in the system, she has to get institutionalized before she will be able to deal with that system. But like I said, she's a pretty tough girl, because from the mugshot you could see that she was pretty tough. Just, you can Google it up, it's online right now, they just pulled it out. So again, with the family that did not want her to go to prison, they need to leave the Dallas Police Department alone. You can't say that you forgive somebody. It's kind of like you forgave the whole situation, and then now you're going to come for money. So you're putting money over a human body of your own flesh and blood. Money, but you didn't want her to go to prison. And the reason I'm saying the family, because everybody agreed with what Brandon John said. They agreed. They felt like, well, that was okay, what he said. Well, if that was okay, go back to St. Lucia, leave the Dallas Police Department. And like she said, we got to be here with them. Let us stay here. Let them get their police work in order, like the chief of Dallas Police said. And let's build a community and let people try to get along. And these police officers do what they are supposed to be doing to connect with the community. But if you're suing the Dallas Police Department, that's going to be money taken. They may need more police officers, hire more good ones. You see what I'm saying? Hire good ones. retrain them to know when to shoot, not to shoot. Also, she said she was going to be talking about life-saving measures that Amber didn't give Botham Jean. She did not give him the life-saving measures. However, he probably would have died anyway because she said she shot him to kill him. So he probably wouldn't have made it anyway, but she still know that people are still supposed to try. And so she's going to be doing a lot of things, she said, to correct the Dallas Police Department. Botham Jean is dead and gone now. His family said they forgave her. They don't want her to go to prison. And if they don't want all that, then they shouldn't want the money. But anyway, that's my take on it. But please click like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be coming back with more of the Real News Talk Show. I will talk to you later. Bye.